Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. This is Barbara Miller. I'm glad you could join me today. I am the President and COO of TSS Software Corporation, and I want to thank everyone on the line for being our customers. I think you're going to find our presentation today very, very interesting. For those of you that know me, I've been in the industry for over 30 years. I guess you can call me a veteran at this point. And I think you all know about our flagship product, Title Express. I am presenting today because I feel this is a very special product that you're about to see, RynohLive. And I'm a huge fan. I think it is literally a groundbreaking product for our industry, and what it does is of such great benefit to you. I really felt it was important that I present it to you and take the time to explain and answer any questions that you may have about it. And I think that a lot of you have been in the industry as long as I've been in and consider yourself veterans, know that our industry is changing in many ways. And one of those ways is that your escrow accounts are vulnerable now in ways that they've never been before. And I have joining me today Mr. Dick Reass from RynohLive, who's going to tell us about his solution, RynohLive, which helps you prevent fraud, especially cyber fraud, and all the things that can go wrong, all the bad guys that can attack your escrow accounts now, and how RynohLive can also save you money. So let me tell you a little bit about Dick. First of all, I want to say hi to Dick and welcome him to Annapolis.
Thank you, Barbara. It's really good to be here today, particularly for a retired Navy guy. December 7th is a special day, so what better place to be than in Annapolis with you? Yep.
I hope you have time to visit the Academy today. I'm sure they've got some events happening there today. But Dick comes from Virginia Beach, Virginia, and he's owned a title company there for some time that his son is now running, and he's going to share with us today his experience and why he's created RynohLive for our industry. And I think you'll see as he shares some of his stories, many of them I know that you'll be shaking your head, yeah, I've seen that happen, how this solution fits so nicely in with Title Express and how it can really help you save time and money. So as the slide says, he successfully brought his dream to the marketplace. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and, before we get started and all the good stuff, let me just tell you a little bit about our webinar tool. If you've not used the GoToMeeting workspace before, which is what we're using for our call today, here are some simple directions for you. There's an arrow that you can click to collapse or expand the panel that you see. It's called the GoToWebinar panel. So if you want to see a little bit more of what's on your screen, just go ahead and collapse that, and you'll be able to see more. Audio, well, if you don't have audio, you don't hear this, so I'm not sure this is any good to you, but audio is good. You can use your telephone or your speakers. If you have any issues, just send me a question, and I have Amanda's our moderator today, and she'll be able to help you and chat back with you if you're having any audio issues. If you're having problems with your computer speakers, just dial in and use the number. That's usually the easiest way to access the audio. Now, if you're sitting there talking to me, I can't hear you. I have you muted. I would love to chat with everybody, but we have to mute you because of any background noise. I know that you're in working environments, so to reduce that noise, we've had to mute you. But at the end, we will have questions, so I'll be able to talk directly to you at that time. So just remember that you're muted. Use your chat or the questions panel. I think actually it just says use the questions section. That's the section I'll have open and our moderator will be looking at if you have any questions. And hopefully we've constructed this so we're going to answer most of your questions for you, but I'm sure there are going to be plenty at the end too, so we'll be happy to help. Okay, I think that does it. Now, today's webinar, I'm just giving you, I like to tell you what I'm going to tell you before I tell you. So I want to tell you here what we're going to cover today, just so you get an idea of the flow of our presentation. The benefits of RynohLive, and I think there are two big benefits, and I think they're both very important. One is fraud, and then the other is money savings. So I don't know how I could catch more attention besides by saying those. And Dick's going to elaborate a little more on both of those and what Rhino can do, not only on those two fronts, but on many other fronts as far as the benefits go. There are many components to RynohLive. It all comes as a package, but you need to know what the various components are and how they benefit you. Training resources. Dick has worked very hard to make this product as easy to use as possible, but there are many, many training resources he's going to tell you about. How it works with Title Express, and I have to say it couldn't be simpler. It's just a simple service that's installed on your server that then communicates your escrow accounts with your bank and RynohLive. There's no upgrade needed. There's no special software from the Title Express side. It's all very, very easy and very, very simple. So I love that about the integration. And then if you're interested, at the end, we'll talk a little bit more about how to get started with RynohLive. And Dick has a special for you today for those folks that are on the webinar that's good through the end of December, which is a really good one. So stay tuned to hear about that. So without further ado, I am going to turn the speaker over to Dick.
Thanks, Barbara. I really appreciate your support. And I'm often asked, what is Rhino? How does it work? And, what are the benefits? And it's really, there's so many answers on so many different levels. Just think of it as your best employee. Rhino is always there. It's got your back. We're there 24/7. We help you eliminate fraud. It's also a reconciliation product that reconciles your account 3 ways every day, verifies you got good funds on deposit each day. And there's a whole slew of accounts. And so for me, as a title agency owner who doesn't work in this company every day, it's peace of mind. I have email reports every day, so I know what's going on in my accounts, and I can see problems as they happen and keep things from getting out of control. It saves me time and money, and it will you. Thank you.
So next, we're going to talk about the components of RynohLive. And the first one, now, in addition to the component of the reconciliation, which automatically reconciles your Title Express escrow data. Dick's going to elaborate on that a little bit, but I just want to make sure everyone understands that it's going to go in every day and mark your items as cleared. In addition to all of the other benefits, it does that fee for you. Everybody knows that fee or how you have to run an auto clear file. So, but the first benefit that Dick wants to talk about is the positive pay feature, which if you're using positive pay now in Title Express, this will replace that, and it's got a little bit more of an elaborate setting. So Dick, you want to tell us a little bit about Rhino Pay?
Thanks, Barbara. As Barbara mentioned, it's an automated system for those of you who are not familiar with the concept of positive pay. One of the threats to your escrow account is check fraud. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the movie Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio and Frank Abagnale, who the story is about. But it's a $20 billion a year industry, and title agents are at risk for check fraud every day because we have a lot of checks clearing the account, or at least we used to have a lot more than we do today. And so it's a system that the bank offers to you so that the bank only honors the checks that you tell them that you've written. And so you have to have a system for delivering to the bank a file of all the checks that you've written. And so what Rhino does is automates that process for you, not only once a day, but multiple times throughout the day, so that nobody will present a check at the bank and the teller turns them away because they don't have any record of the check being issued, the same day disbursement kind of a thing.
Right, and then Dick, you don't have to upload a file every night. It happens automatically.
That's correct. It's totally hands-off. In fact, our system handles what they call payee, a non-payee match. And what does that mean? That means when the bank looks at the check, if it's payee match, they're looking at who the check has been payable to, the date on the check number, and the amount. Now that requires the bank to have some very sophisticated scanning equipment. The vast majority of the banks don't have that optical scanning capability, so that's non-payee match, which is just then the date on the check number, and the amount. We also have a standalone solution, so every agent that is using RynohLive has positive pay protection. Our RhinoPay system, it delivers you an email every morning and lets you know if there's a check that's been presented for payment in your bank that isn't in Title Express. And by the way, we have about 115 agents nationwide who are using our system because either they don't want to pay the fee for the bank, or their bank is a small community bank that, believe it or not, in today's environment still do not offer positive pay. It can't be without positive pay.
Right, right. And I think in addition to not being without positive pay, it's really gotten to the point now where a monthly reconciliation just isn't going to cut it. I mean, you've got so many ways that cyber fraud can be committed on your account now. And I was on a call recently with some of the national underwriters, and they really see the biggest threat to escrow accounts as coming from the outside versus the inside. And that's really changed. I mean, I know, hi Pat, by the way, some of us that have been in business for over 20 years know that, the fraud threat used to be inside, and now with the viruses that can be downloaded to your computer and the wire scams that are out there, bad guys aren't even in this country that can access your escrow account. So daily monitoring of your account has become even more critical. And the RynohLive component we're going to look at now, the reconciliation side, you got to keep in mind it's automatic and it's daily. So tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here.
Thank you. The reconciliation module, the reconciliation runs every day. Most agents don't understand that the banking regulations are such that if you have a fraudulent item that is posted to your bank account, you have 24 hours to notify the bank of that item. Otherwise, if you haven't notified them, then you've just bought it. You now own the problem. So monthly reconciliations does not work anymore. The Rhino reconciliation engine reconciles your account on a daily basis, highlights all those things, bar potential problems, and enables you to stay on top of what's going on in your escrow account. We also do things like automatic group deposit matching and a lot of other special features to really take the burden off of you and present you with the most accurate information available.
Okay, and going along with the reconciliation is the wizard, and I like the word wizard, so tell us a little bit about your reconciliation wizard.
The wizard is a background component of RynohLive because we do know that there are errors and mistakes and things that come up in the account. And sometimes it's a real head scratcher trying to figure out what it is that doesn't work, wasn't matched. So the wizard lists all those items that are in Title Express and your bank that prevent you from having a satisfactory three-way reconciliation. So essentially all you have to go to is the wizard, take a look at the items that need to be matched, corrected, adjusted, and those are some of the errors and types of things we're able to identify for you automatically. And once you've finished working with the wizard, you reconcile three ways. It's that simple. And it's running for you every day in the background, and you can look at the wizard anytime you've got a problem.
Okay. And then moving on to the components, let's talk a little bit about your tracking and reporting.
One of the things when you're doing reconciliation just tells you what's happened. And so I developed this tracking module to be able to tell you things that should have happened that haven't happened. And I can sit here and, I can all kinds of stories. I remember before I had Rhino and I built it, I overnighted a payoff to the IRS, and my overnight carrier lost the shipment, and we were, reconciling monthly. And I'll never forget my escrow clerk came to me and she said, Mr. Reass, our overnight payment to the IRS didn't clear, and I checked with our overnight carrier, and they lost the shipment. Well, what do we do? And so I'd call the IRS, and of course it was the perfect storm. The seller had moved to Alaska. The IRS wouldn't talk to us. We were the debtor, and so finally, out of desperation, we asked, well, what should we do? And they said, well, send us a letter, explain what happened, and send us another check. So we did that, and the check cleared, and we thought everything was good. Make a long story short, there were penalties we weren't aware of, and it cost me $30,000. I didn't do anything wrong. The IRS didn't care. So it's those kinds of things. It's the payoff check that gets lost. You can track your disbursements by payee, who you wrote the check to, the purpose why you wrote it, homeowners insurance, or the amount. I mean, another story is, we did a home buyer's warranty check. We were doing final policies 90 days later, and out on the floor drops this home buyer's warranty check, and of course the home buyer's warranty company wouldn't take it, and when we called the buyer to send them their check back, they wanted to know, well, how about this policy I bought? And well, I became the policy, and Murphy's Law says 90 days later the dishwasher goes out and the floor gets ruined from the flood, and I had the privilege of spending $2,400 for a floor. Doesn't happen anymore.
Right, right. Not with these alerts. I think they're fabulous. And then this part is also great because you can customize the alerts that you receive every morning. And we had a question also come in from Pat. Wanted to know if the PosiPay emails can go to more than one person, and I guess that question would also apply to these alerts as well. Can you set up the alerts, including the PosiPay files, to go to multiple people?
That's right. In fact, on the left-hand side, I don't know if you can see a report. You can designate anybody in your company who you would like to receive those two daily reports.
Okay.
So these are the health and well-being of your account on a daily basis. They're there waiting for you when you come to work in the morning. And then on a monthly basis, your accounts are all reconciled in some states, and then in some areas, the underwriter requires you to send in your reconciliation reports, and that's done automatically. And not only do we have that wizard, but we have that new feature that you see in red, which is called the reconciliation analysis, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But it really actually analyzes for you what's really going on in your escrow account, because a good reconciliation is far more than just being balanced three ways. Mm-hmm. Also, you can track revenue and look at ledgers. It's an incredible, powerful tool. It's in your hands, and I'd love to be able to take the time with any of you to have one of our team take you through what it'll do for you.
Okay. Let's see here. So here's a sample of a morning report that they would receive.
That's correct.
You want to walk us through what's on here?
Sure. The morning report is actually at three sections. The first section is those user-defined alerts that are created from that tracking module. And you can see up the top there, the first item is anything greater than or equal to $5,000 that hasn't cleared after 4 days. This pretty much will catch your mortgage payoffs. It'll also pick up things like corporate court checks. I think that Citywide mortgage is probably a broker's check. And you notice that corporate court appears in two places, because one criteria was amount over $5,000, and the other is payee like clerk. So you'll see it twice, but you just want to make sure that it's there. And so if you have a good, robust list, and we do have some recommendations for you, you can make sure that nothing kind of slips through. Also track down below some scale data checks.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Interesting clients there, too.
Yeah. Okay, a little bit more about the sample report.
The other part of the morning report is the reconciliation alerts. This is telling you what's happening in your bank account and looking what's in Title Express. And the first part is anything that has been presented or it's been for payment or cleared your bank account, but it's not in Title Express. It could be everything from a wire coming in for the wrong amount, or your staff not posting a wire in Title Express. It can even be a return wire. We've gotten a couple of thank you emails from clients who's had their lenders that they were sending the payoffs to returning the checks or the wires because they're a few cents short. And we've caught ACH and wire fraud there. We've saved one agent in Missouri $800,000, kept them in business. And then duplicate disbursements. That's where the agent has written a check and then, oh, by the way, sent a wire, or the bank has cleared a check more than one time. And
yeah, I heard a story from one of the underwriters about now with the mobile phone technology, how a seller got a check at closing and scanned it on their phone and deposited it, but then walked right back in and asked for a wire, handed the check back and said, I want a wire. And the wire went out because they didn't know that it had already been deposited. It was literally within 5 minutes. So Rhino would have caught that because it would have already shown up.
Yeah, and that would have shown here, but it also would show as a positive pay exception because hopefully if they would have avoided that check, but it would show either in the positive pay report or in the reconciliation alert. It'll also show you if any wires that the bank didn't send out, you may have initiated, but the wire didn't get approved, or if you're faxing your wire to your bank because you don't trust online banking. We'll let you know the wire. Yeah.
It's all the wires.
And then that's unclear. Let's just jump back for a second.
Sorry about that.
It'll even tell you this where you posted a deposit, but it never went in the bank. And another story, where you were licensed in multiple states for title in Virginia Beach, and you put the money in the wrong account. It'll even tell you when the money goes into the wrong account. And the story always tells about cutting $750,000 out of my North Carolina escrow account, but the money was in the Virginia account. Well, we were told the next morning that, hey, you put it in the wrong account, and it was a simple matter of just going online and transferring the money rather than having to deal with the bounce checks and the reporting to the North Carolina bar.
Yep, that would not have been fun.
Yep.
Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about an option that you may or may not need, but your underwriter may ask for it, and that is submitting reports directly to your underwriter. So it is an option, but tell us a little bit about how it works.
Yeah, this was really built because in Florida the agents are required to submit their monthly reconciliations to their underwriter, and then some agents, particularly when they're first getting started with an underwriter, required to monthly submit their reconciliations. Rhino will automatically, for you, submit the reconciliation to your underwriter on a specific day of the month, but before it goes, you get a notification that says, hey, basically, I'm going to send this email and report to your underwriter. Please take a look, and it's basically an analysis report that says, here's what's in that report. You might want to go fix it before you send it to your underwriter.
Yeah. So you have a chance to look at it.
Yeah, so it doesn't go out there and leave you holding the bag. It's trying to explain later on. And this is an example of that analysis report. The first part it says, are you balanced 3 ways, yes or no? If you're not balanced 3 ways, yes or no, you can click and it'll take you to the wizard, and the wizard will tell you what items you need to fix. Then it looks at the other things that your underwriter is looking at, is items that have been banked but not put. What do I mean by that? That's that incoming wire for the closing that never happened, and you simply return the wire and you don't put it in Title Express. Well, that's important. That has to be in Title Express because total debits and total credits have to match the bank and Title Express. Files with the negative balances, pending deposits, all those you can read them all. It's just all those other things that the underwriter is going to look at you for having things right. And you can see, I guess over there, there's some money in one of the files being shown over there.
I like that this says yes or no. Are you reconciled? And keeps it easy for you.
Yep.
Okay. And lastly, I know we've got a couple questions to answer, and we'll get to those in a second, but the training resources, I think there's some important points here. You have live interactive training available with your staff. I mean, this is all web-based, so it's very easy to do the training. Of course, a sales presentation or demonstration is always available from Dick or his staff. There's plenty of documentation for you to read, and there are online videos. And how does it work with Title Express? Well, I looked at this slide, and I was really debating whether or not we should put this slide in here because it's not this hard. I mean, in simple terms, there is a service, we call it the adapter, the Rhino adapter that Rhino provides. It's installed on your server. There's some configuration that Rhino needs to have, some information from you to communicate with your bank, and then it happens. The service just starts picking up your items from the escrow account in Title Express. You can still work in Title Express. You can still do whatever you need in the escrow account. It just works behind the scenes. Now, Mark asked, I think the question is, now Mark I know is associated with a bank, so he's being particular here about his question, but what software does the bank need in order to communicate with Rhino? And Dick, I'll let you answer that because, I mean, this goes back to, well, what banks do you work with, which is, I think, is a commonly asked question that you get.
Yeah, I like to bank, we're bank agnostic. We work right now with, I guess we're around 200 different banks, but all of the banks have core banking software.
Right? They all, yeah. If they're using a name brand software, you can communicate with it, correct?
Right. Yeah.
If it's custom software, I mean, do banks use custom software?
Some of them do, but primarily we have two ways interfacing. Either we do a direct integration with the bank, and that's with a VAI file or a comment eliminated or the different kinds of versions without getting technical, or we simply go through their online banking website, and in which case we need a username and a password for read-only access.
Sure.
Installation for the agent is about a 15-minute process with Title Express.
Okay. And so, yeah, if you have any particular, specific questions, it really goes back to what software the bank is using. But right now, I don't think there's any that they haven't been able to integrate with yet. So, but those more specific questions can be directed to Rhino. And then, how do you get started? There's a registration process with Rhino. If you go to their website, which is Rhino, RYNOH.com, there is a register button, and then the process will get started. And a little bit, let's see, what do we have? Oh, if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the questions box. But I want to talk a little bit about cost here, because I know that's probably what's in the back of your mind, is what does Rhino cost? Well, Dick, I asked Dick this question earlier, and it's on a sliding scale. It's per closed file. And, of course, depending on your volume, that price would change. But for 100 closings, you could estimate $355 a month. Now, what does that get you? First of all, it gets you your reconciliation done. So you would want to compare that to what you're paying now for your reconciliation services. And now, in addition to that, and I know I sound like a salesperson for Rhino, but you really should be doing this part. I was just so excited about it.
I love it, yeah.
It will do the vendor 1099 for you. I just learned that today. I thought that was great because it'll take that off of your check information, so you could do vendor 1099. And then the other thing I found out today, that you can run revenue reports. So it'll identify, I guess you can set up custom reports based on the payee and the item and all that good stuff. So in addition to the daily alerts, the fraud alerts, and the reconciliation and the tracking and reporting, and then also the option to report directly to your underwriter. And I would say at this point, most of the major underwriters know about your system and are on board with it and understand what you do.
Yeah, we're recommended, approved, endorsed, and in some cases required by underwriters who represent an 85% market share in our industry. And as to cost, I don't have anybody who's paying me more money than I've saved them. I mean, and I stand behind that statement. We've saved our clients over $2 million last year in error losses and fraud losses and dispersing errors. And I don't even consider the time and resources savings and operational efficiency. You can't do it for less.
Okay, and then Sean asked a question, and maybe I jumped the gun on my scan check wire, but it says Rhino would catch, if we had a situation where somebody scanned their check and then walked back in and asked for a wire, Rhino would catch it, but wouldn't the bank honor both if there were funds available?
If you have positive pay in place, this would then become a positive pay exception, because when you void the check in Title Express, that void information is sent to your bank, and that check is then taken off the list of approved checks. And so you would get an email from your bank saying, this payoff check to Joe Smith is presented for payment. Should we pay it or not pay it? And of course, your answer would be do not pay. If you didn't, for some reason, use a positive pay with your bank, you would get a positive pay email from Rhino the next morning and say, this check has been presented for payment. You need to notify your bank.
Right. So the important answer there is that you make sure you void it right away in Title Express. Otherwise, you may have an issue. But you should, because you want to put that wire in Title Express too.
And if you don't, you're out of balance in the file.
Right, you're out of balance in the file. So there are a couple of different ways that would be caught. So let's see. Do we have any other questions? Nope. It doesn't look like it. Okay. Wait, is there one more? No. I think that's everything. All right, folks. Well, I really appreciate everyone taking their time today to be on our webinar. We're going to go ahead and close things up, but you're certainly, oh wait, Dick has one more comment. Sorry.
Yes, the comment that Barbara on the lead-in is if you sign up to this
month.
month.
Right, I forgot to say about our special.
We offer a 30-day no obligation trial to give on Rhino. And if you sign up before the end of the month and let us know that you were on Barbara's webinar, we'll extend that to 60 days for you, sort of as a thank you for sitting through with us today.
So that's 2 free months of Rhino. Woo!
Yeah, and you'll never want to be without it. I guarantee that. Personally.
Yeah, so that's great. That's a great offer. I mean, it's a great product, and also Dick told me earlier he doesn't require an annual contract. Rhino does not require an annual contract. It's month to month. So I doubt he's had anyone come off the system unless they just close their doors. And I think he told me earlier that that would be true. So. Yep. All right, well, again, I think that ends it, and Mr. Reass's information is on Rhino.com, and everybody have a great day, a great holidays, and thanks again. All right, bye-bye.
Bye now.